Hello everyone, I'm Aaron from DataStax, and today I'm going to take you through running AI workloads on DataStax Hyper-Converged database, otherwise known as HCD. So today we're going to build out an AI assistant for our e-commerce site. All right, let's go. So as I've done with all of my videos so far, I'm going to start out in mission control. And in mission control, I'm going to have a look at my permanent waves cluster. You can see that, again, it's active. I have all three nodes up. Data API is enabled, although we're not going to use the Data API today. But yeah, our cluster is up and everything looks good. So let's jump over and have a look at CQL shell. So I'll take a look at the default key space here, and we'll say desk tables. All right, so I have my albums table out there, and then one for Minecraft vectors, one for Minecraft vectors CAS. So yeah, let's just keep that in mind for a second. Now, if you'll remember, from a couple of years ago, we used to run this workshop called Building an E-commerce Website, and we used to run it in different sections, and we'd focus on like a different subsystem of an e-commerce website every week. But the idea with this particular session that we're going to do today, is that maybe we have a website, maybe it's an e-commerce site, and we want to add an AI shopping assistant. So how would we go about doing that? Well, that's going to be our goal for today. And what I'm going to do is actually take the product data that we used for this workshop, expand it out a little bit, and I'm going to load this into HCD using a tool called Langflow, which is going to help me create vector embeddings for each one of our products here. So out here in the DataStax documentation, we have a lot of great material out there on HCD, but we're going to actually look at the docs for Langflow today. And if you have a look at the open source docs, it has a section here on installing it locally, and that's what we're going to do. Now, I've already done this. So the only step that you're going to really see me do here is to run it locally, which would be doing a python-m langflow run. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, and Langflow is up and running. So what I'm going to do is start with a new project here. And instead of starting from scratch, I'm actually going to use a template and build on that going forward. We're going to click this vector store rag, and for those of you who don't know, rag means retrieval augmented generation. It's a technique for for generative AI. So this is what that vector store rag template gives us. Our data loading flow is down here, and the actual AI chatbot assistant flow is up here. So let me start by just naming this properly. We'll say AI shopping assistant, and we'll say HCD, just like that. And then we'll save. Okay. So the first thing we need, obviously, as part of loading data, is data in a file. So what I'm going to do is open this, and in my documents folder, I have a CSV file of the product data from that e-commerce workshop GitHub repository. And I'm going to open that file and set that here. It then goes through what's known as a text splitter. Usually you do want some degree of overlap with your data, as it helps with maintaining context. I'm going to set this chunk overlap from 200 down to 100, so I think we'll be okay there. If we look at our embeddings, we are going to use OpenAI to generate embeddings. We're going to use the text embedding 3 small model. I'm going to grab my OpenAI API key that will allow me to make those calls. All right, so we kind of build out this template with DataStax AsterDB. I'm actually going to click up here and say delete. For this to work with HCD, we are going to need to use the Cassandra component for now. And what I'm going to do is go from the chunk output on the text splitter. I'm going to run that to ingest data. And then on the embeddings output node from OpenAI embeddings, I'm just going to run that to the embedding input node on the Cassandra component. So I have pretty much everything we're going to need here saved as an environment variable. So I'm going to say HCD endpoint for my Cassandra contact points. I'm going to say HCD username, HCD password. My key space is going to be default key space. And for our table name, we're going to say AI assistant vectors, just like that. All right, that should be all that we'll need. Now I can go ahead and click this run button. And if we did everything right here, it should run successfully. All right, so I was able to query my AI assistance vectors. If I describe the table, you can see that this is the table that was created out here. It's just a standard row ID. It has a like a blobbish kind of field for text and body. It has the vector with 1536 dimensions to match up with what we're using from OpenAI. And then it actually has two custom indexes created, one on the metadata and another on the vector column itself. Now remember, this table and its data were not here before we built our flow. So Langflow actually created all of this for us, which is really, really cool. All right, so now if we go back over to Langflow, let's have a look at the AI chat flow here. So we're going to get this started with a question. So we'll say, can you help me find a purple shirt? We'll just kind of start it out with that. Again, we have our AI embeddings component that we're going to set to our OpenAI API key environment variable. We have AstroDB over here instead of Cassandra. So I'm going to delete that. Actually, instead of that, you know what you can do in Langflow that's pretty cool? You can click here and say duplicate. And it duplicates it with all the values set the same. So that way I can have Cassandra as a vector store both in the loading and in the chatbot phase. Easy, easy. So let's take the embeddings output node for OpenAI and connect it to the embedding input node for Cassandra. Then let's take our chat input and we're going to run that to the search query node right down here. All right, and then from our search results node on Cassandra, we're going to run that up to the data node on the parse data component here. All right, parse data we can just kind of leave as is. That's okay. But the prompt though, that we're going to change up just a little bit. I actually have something kind of pre-typed in here that I'm just going to dump in. All right, so we have our context and we're basically telling our chatbot, we're giving it these guardrails with our prompt component. So we are saying, you're a personal shopping assistant for the Astra apparel store. Shoppers will ask you to help them find certain products. You're limited to the provided product information for Astra apparel's products, and you may not use data from any other source. And then we just have like the question and then like a room for the spot for the answer as well. Now you notice by having question and context inside of parens, that gets them established as prompt variables. So now I can save that. And you'll notice that context and question are down here. So our data coming from HCD is actually getting routed to the context, which makes sense. You know, retrieval augmented generation is usually supported by a local context. And then our chat input, can you help me find a purple shirt, is coming all the way over to the question here. So we have our OpenAI component. Now this is different from the OpenAI embeddings component. So we have to tie it to a chat model, and for this one we're going to use GPT-4o. I'm going to specify my OpenAI API key again. And our text output on the OpenAI output node is going to the text input on the chat output node. All right, so if I did everything right here, clicking that run button should build and run all of these components. Yeah, I can see it's working through. Okay, now we're all set. So now if I scroll out a bit, you can see that we have our complete flow with the chat flow as well as the data loading flow. So let's go to the playground. All right, so let's try a question here to get us started. Let's say, please help me find a purple t-shirt size large. Let's run that. And you can see that Langflow puts our question up here. And once it comes to the results, we should see him appear down here. All right. Hey, here's a purple t-shirt in size large that you might like. And it actually points out to the DataStax 2024 purple t-shirt that we actually came out with just a little while ago. For those of us, who work the booth at events. All right, let's try another one. Can you help me find a jacket? Oh, here we go. Okay, so we have the DataStax gray track jacket large. I think this is a golfing jacket that we had. Important to note too that inside the product data, I do have references to the image, the images that are used, but I don't have a way for the chatbot to actually go out and get these images. So that's why they're showing up as broken. Okay, so these are all like the different sizes available of the DataStax gray track jacket. Yeah, medium, extra large, small, large. Okay. All right, so this is working. Now, of course, Langflow is a pretty cool tool. I hope you're seeing that so far. But to make this even better, we can actually stand up an application on top of this. So I can click on the API button down here, and you'll notice it gives me a curl command here that I could copy and paste. And this input value property is what I would have to change to update for the new question or the new query. But what I'm going to do, and you can see I am running this locally, is I'm going to grab that URI there, and I'm going to copy that. And then over in Eclipse, I'm going to add that URL as an environment variable. So that way my application, my Spring Boot Java application here, can reference it. So building up this ask a question method, we're sending it a shopping assistant request, which is basically just a message. Yeah, you can see that it has that input value that I showed in the curl command just a little bit ago. And we're going to get back this Langflow response. And then buried deep within this response, nested down a few levels, is the actual message that's coming back that we're going to replay. That is really all our Spring Boot controller does here, is just serve out this ask a question method. Now, if I look at our Vaadin front end, you can see that, we have our shopping assistant main view here. We're going to use an image. So I'm going to have like an Astra Apparel brand image, putting on a new message list for the chat. And then we're having the message input query component available as well. That's what's going to allow us to ask our questions and submit them. So here we've added the image. Here we're adding the chat and the query components to the page as well. And then we're going to add a submit listener. So when that submit button is pressed, it's going to run this get response method. And that method is down here. And what that does is it takes the event that triggered it, and it does two main operations. First of all, it creates the shopping assistant request based off of, whatever sentence we type in. And then it adds that to our message list. And once that's done, it takes that request and runs it to the ask question method that we just looked at on the controller. That gets back the web response, and then we are able to add the message back from our AI chatbot to show it on the screen. So I've talked an awful lot here. Why don't we kick this off and just have a look at it? All right. Looks like we're running. Okay, so if I go here and we say, there we go, 127.0.0.1, 8080, and yeah, we just have a simple little application here. Let's say, can you help me find a hoodie? So let's try that question and see what our shopping assistant comes back with. Hey, here we go. So it is able to find some hoodies inside the Astra Apparel product dataset. So we have the DataStax black hoodie. Description is super warm. You'll underestimate how many times you will fall asleep wearing this. Of course, we have the 2015 DataStax Vintage MVP hoodie given out to MVPs at the 2015 DataStax Cassandra Summit. Yeah. How about tell me more about the Vintage 2015 MVP hoodie? Yep. Oh, it was a special edition hoodie. Hey, there we go. That's good to know. This hoodie is known for its warmth and comfort, making it a perfect choice for those chilly days or cozy nights. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so this is working. So this is a AI shopping assistant chatbot that's running on top of DataStax Hyper-Converged database, or HCD, was built using Langflow, as you saw, and the application on top of it was built in Java using Spring Boot and Vaadin. So, hey, that should do it. For more information, head on out to datastax.com/products/hyper-converged database HCD. Here, you can find all you need to know about HCD, including documentation and downloads. Thank you, and have a great day.